Do you want to know how to run a fundraising campaign without it falling flat? I'm going to give you 7 things you have to have in any fundraising campaign. Let's get into it. Hey y'all, this is Tiffany with Boss on a Budget. So I help people start nonprofits and raise money from the ground up. If you know you need help with that, go ahead and subscribe to this channel because I have hundreds of videos to guide you through this process. If you want to join a small community of nonprofit founders who are learning how to fundraise and they get encouragement and accountability weekly, then comment join below and I'll send you a link to sign up. So in this video, I'm going to go point by point and give you 7 things that you need to check off to make sure you have in any fundraising campaign. So when I use the word fundraising campaign, I just mean an effort that you're going to take to raise money around a certain goal or around a certain objective. So some people think that fundraising is just I randomly put out a request, or I just ask people, or I just put a donate button on my website and that's fundraising. And I really don't recommend that's the only thing you do to ensure that you're raising enough money for your nonprofit. If you're going to fundraise, it needs to be intentional and it needs to have a process and a plan behind it. So when you see other organizations, especially well-established organizations, just put out some posts and raise millions of dollars, it could seem so easy, but trust me, there's a lot going on behind the scenes and there are a lot of things you need to have in place to ensure success. So let me just give you this quick example before I go through the checklist. If St. Jude's, which is a major charity that raises billions of dollars every year, not every 10 years, every year, if they have to hire thousands of fundraisers, then that means that somebody is putting in some work. Somebody's getting paid to make sure it happens. So you have to have that same kind of intentionality. And I know you're thinking, well, Tiffany, I don't have all that money to hire a fundraiser. So what about us? This is something you can absolutely do yourself, which is why I do these videos, to let you know that this is possible. And in this video, here's a checklist of stuff you need to make sure you have so that you can be more successful when you do your campaigns. Number 1, do not start a campaign without a goal. If people have no clue what you're striving for, what you're trying to attain as a part of your fundraising campaign, then it's hard for it to feel concrete, it's hard for it to feel real, and it's hard for people to feel like they're contributing to something. One reason why fundraising campaigns are successful is because people feel like when they give, that it's actually making a difference. It's actually putting a dent into your goal. It's actually getting you closer to the things that you want to accomplish through your mission. And if people feel like they're giving kind of into a black hole, they don't know what it's for, they don't know what the intentions are, what are we trying to do with this whole thing, then you're going to be less likely to get people who are actually really want to give you money. So I really encourage you to have a goal around your campaigns. Now you can have a goal that overall you need to raise a certain amount of money for your organization, but do individual campaigns. So you could be doing an end of year campaign and you're trying to raise $20,000 for that campaign specifically, even though for the entire year you may need to raise a total of $75,000 for individuals. And it's not just having a numeric goal. It's also about understanding what is that goal for. I don't want you to pick a goal out of thin air and be like, oh, I need money, so yeah, 5,000 sounds right. Yeah, 5,000. No, we're not going to do it that way. You really need to understand, what is this for? Where will this money go? How will it actually accomplish our mission? How can I make those connections? Because you're going to need to be able to answer those questions, and people need that kind of information when they're making the decision about whether or not they want to give you money. So make sure you have a goal. Make sure you're clear about what the money is for, where it's going, and who it's going to benefit. Number 2 is technology. Now, maybe a few years ago, I wouldn't have harped so much on having technology because there are a lot of people who do old school fundraising through checks and cash. And hey, if you're doing it that way, I'm not going to knock your hustle. But just in 2024, when I'm recording this video, you just cannot afford not to take advantage of technology when it comes to running a fundraising campaign. So a lot of people don't understand, especially when they're starting nonprofits, that there are a lot of businesses that cater to you to help you raise money. There are donation platforms. That's the word I use, but a lot of people have different names for them. But there are businesses designed to help nonprofits raise money. So they have services where you could set up fundraising pages, you can collect money through their services, and then that money will be transferred to your bank account. They can help you with text giving or QR code giving or peer-to-peer fundraising campaigns. They have all of that set up for you for events or auctions and things like that. There are many companies that are designed just for nonprofits, and you want a service that understands your needs and that is designing services that fits your circumstances. You don't want to just create a PayPal link without understanding all that's out there for you. You don't want to just create a Cash App for your personal account and collect money that way without really understanding the implications of doing that. You want to get technology that fits your needs as a nonprofit and understands your circumstances, and also that's in compliance and you're actually following the terms and conditions and using it the right way. So have technology set up to help you collect donations in an efficient way and in a safe way. Because the other thing is, if you're collecting cash and if you're collecting checks, it's really easy for money to get lost. If money is changing a lot of hands, it's just really easy for people to make mistakes or for bad things to happen. So you also want a safe way to be able to collect and gather information. And you also want to gather the contact information of the people who are giving, because the success of your ongoing fundraising depends on the relationships you develop. So if somebody gives money to you, then that's an indication to you that they may give to you again. But you need to be able to keep in contact with them. You need to be able to tell good stories, tell them about the impact of their donation to increase the likelihood that they will give again. And you can't do that if you don't have their contact information. So technology just makes all of this so much easier and makes it more seamless so that you can build that relationship with your donors. Number 3, you need a team. I repeat, you need a team. Many of you have started a nonprofit because, let's just be real, you want to be a solopreneur. You have an idea, there's a vision that you've been given, and you just want to execute it. You do not want to waste time waiting on other people. You don't want to waste time working with other people, right? So the idea that you would need to gather a team to help you raise money, when in your head, all you got to do is just set up a fundraising page and put it out there and let people know you need money. If you have that one track mind, then I really want to expand your thinking and get you to think more strategically about how you want to be successful with your nonprofit. Because the bottom line is, if you want to raise more money, then you need to know more people. The bottom line is, if you want to raise more money, then you got to reach more people. And one of the ways you can reach more people is through other people. So your board, first of all, is your first option to ask for money or to get them to ask their people for money. Your family and your friends and your professional associates and your social connections, the people who are connected to you in other ways, can also be a great source of other donors to give to your organization. But in order to execute a campaign, you need people to help you. You need to have people who you can delegate tasks to. You don't want to put this all on yourself, and you don't want to be the one broadcasting it all by yourself. So you need to think about who's on your team to help you do this. Who's going to help you with the marketing of it all? Who's going to help you with the online marketing or the more in-person marketing? Who's going to help you with developing the words or the copy for your fundraising appeals, your emails, and your social media posts? Who's going to help you with the accounting of it all and collecting of the dollars? Because the bottom line is, you need more than one person who has eyes on the money for your nonprofit. And if it's only you, that's not a safe or wise position to be in. So you do need help with people with the accounting piece or bookkeeping to make sure things are accounted for the right way. So who's your team? Who's going to help you? Who are you delegating tasks to? Who's going to help spread the word? Who's also responsible for asking for money? Ask yourself those questions and make sure you have those people in place. Number 4 is a tagline. Now, some people may be like, you don't need this, but in my experience, when I have developed campaigns, this has been really important. So you need something to pull people to your cause or to get people's attention or to get people to understand in a very clear and quick way what it is you're trying to do and what it is you're trying to accomplish. So that tagline can be on the top of your fundraising page, or it could be included in a one-pager that you develop that talks about the fundraising campaign. But you need something quick and succinct to describe what you're trying to do. So I like to tell people, let's say in 10 words or less, how many people you're trying to help and what are you trying to do for those people. And you're doing a call out to your audience, because that call out is what you need them to do in order to support the people that you're helping. So it could be, help us get 50 turkeys for our fundraiser. So shout out to one of my coachees, Cheryl Saab of Gap Coalition of Chester County, because that's what she does. She does the Thanksgiving distribution. So she might have a campaign that talks about they're trying to get 50 turkeys for 50 families, or help us get meals for 50 children, or help us get school supplies for 100 children, whatever it is. But the key elements in that tagline is there's a number. Another key element is you're calling out to them, help us, right? Help us, you're bringing us all together. And then also you're talking about who you're helping. Is it the children? Is it families? Is it young people? Is it elders? Whatever it is, you're calling out who they're helping, and you're also calling out what you're trying to do, what you're trying to get to help them. So having a good tagline to sum up what you're trying to do in your campaign can be really, really helpful. The fifth thing that's important is a deadline. So the whole point of having a campaign is that it's time limited. And you want to build a sense of urgency for folks so they feel like if they don't give, they're missing out on an opportunity to help somebody right now. I'm not saying be deceptive, but what I am saying is that there are moments where you're going to need a certain amount of money to accomplish a goal that you have. And that goal is not necessarily centered around the success of your organization. It's more so centered on the success of the people that you're helping. So if you can't reach that goal, then you can't help the people that you're trying to help. And that is urgent. People do need to pay attention to that. People do need to know that. So you building that sense of urgency around a time-limited campaign can help people feel motivated to do something so they can help somebody right now. So the best way to do that is to have a deadline. Don't have campaigns that last forever and ever and ever. And it really does depend on your donors. It depends on past campaigns you've done to figure out what's a good time. I have done 30-day campaigns. I've done a campaign that's been over 40 days, but that was because of certain circumstances. But I would say around 30 days or less. You want to get people involved and you want to get people excited. And here's what you're going to see with your time-limited campaign. People are going to be very excited in the beginning. Then there's going to be a lull. And then a lot of people are going to get excited and motivated at the end. So when you're thinking about like your deadline and how much time you're going to give yourself, just understand that and understand what you're going to do in the meantime, in the middle, to get people excited. Or maybe you want to build up time for people to know about the campaign. So you want to have 20 or 30 days so you can have time to reach people, to push them to act at the last week of your campaign. Whatever it is, just know that you should have a time limit on it so there's that sense of urgency for folks. Here's the next thing. You need to have a thanking process or protocol. I should have said this earlier because I don't want you to forget about this when you're doing your campaign, and you should actually be thinking about how you're going to thank before you launch any campaign. It should not be an afterthought. But just know this, how you thank people absolutely impacts whether or not they're going to give you again. There are some people who will refuse to support you if they're not adequately acknowledged. And I don't mean acknowledgement in terms of giving them gifts for giving or blasting them out on your social media. A lot of times people are not looking for that kind of public acknowledgement. They're looking for a personal acknowledgement from you. And a lot of times, even if they don't respond to that acknowledgement, or say you're calling them or emailing them and they don't reply to that, it may feel like they're not paying attention or they didn't get it. But best believe if they don't get it, then they're going to have a problem. So you need to think about who's going to do the thanking, when are you doing the thanking, and what's the format of your thanking. Experts generally say you should be thanking people within 48 hours of their gift. That can be difficult for some folks. So it's not a hard and fast rule, but it's something to strive for. You want to thank people as quickly as possible. You can use automation to do that. That's why I think it's so important for you to leverage technology, because you can send automatic emails that are personalized to that person's name, that gives a personal story or personal quote that can quickly acknowledge folks. But you may want to think about other ways you can thank people, like calling them on the phone, which is my favorite way. And my number one suggestion for acknowledging people is by calling them and having some kind of personal contact with them. But whatever it is you decide to do, like I said before, you need to figure out who's responsible for the thanking. And it shouldn't just be you, the founder. It needs to be a shared process among the board, if nothing else. You need to think about when you're going to thank people, what's the timeline for that, and have a process that accommodates that. And then you need to think about the format. You know, if it's going to be email, then how is that going to happen? If it's going to be by phone, how are people going to get the information they need to make that possible? If it's through the mail, how are you going to get the stamps? When is the mail going out? All those kinds of things. And then finally, you need to have a plan for your marketing. How are you going to make your campaign visible to your potential donors? Because it's just not enough to set up a fundraising page. It's just not. It's not enough to send one message to folks or one email blast to folks. It's just not. You want to know why? Because people don't pay attention. And there are so many things that are competing for people's time and attention. Just think about in your own life, how often you get distracted when you're trying to do one thing, but you got your phone over here, you got your TV over here, you got your kids over here, you got your job over here, you got your spouse over here, you got a house issue, you got a car issue. There are so many distractions that you just can't bank on putting out one message and hoping that that'll convince people to respond to you. Because a lot of times people think that people don't respond or they don't give because they don't want to. But I have found that a lot of times it's because they either forgot or they weren't engaged enough to be able to give. Like they didn't stop and take time enough to pay attention to figure out what's really going on. So you need to think about how you're going to market your campaign, how you're going to roll it out. What are the things you're going to do a general blast so everybody knows? But then what is that personal follow-up that you're going to do? How are you going to reach to people? What are the messages you're going to say? What are the stories you're going to use? What are the images you're going to use to get people excited about what you're going to do? How are you going to do that outreach over and over again to remind people about the campaign that you're running? So be really intentional about the plan you want to use to make sure your campaign becomes very visible so that people can be reminded of it and make sure that they give. So I'm going to give this quick example. I love my nephew. Right now, this recording of this video, he's 8 years old. And if you have a relative or a child who's in school, then I'm pretty sure you've had to do a fundraiser for them. So my nephew had a fundraiser recently and he needed people to donate. Now I want my nephew to win all the prizes and the incentives, and I want his school to get whatever they need. So there's not a question about whether I was going to donate. But the campaign got to the very last day and I had not donated yet. So that wasn't an indicator that I didn't want to do it or that I didn't have buy-in into the fundraiser or anything like that. It was just simply, it slipped my mind. I forgot. And it took a reminder text from my sister to remind me to go on that page and donate to my nephew's fundraiser, which is the thing I really wanted to do but had forgotten to do. So always keep that in mind, that in most circumstances, if a person hasn't flat out said no to you, there may be something else going on, and it's really up to you to remind them to stay visible, to talk about your work, and to keep going. Don't get discouraged, but keep going. So those are elements you just need to have anytime you're rolling out a fundraising campaign. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them below. If you need help with starting your nonprofit, don't forget to visit me at bossonabudget.com. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.